Anytime they talk about her as she, for some reason that just really rubs her the wrong way. She wants them to call her mom. She doesn't want them to say things like, well, she won't let me go outside. Somehow it feels better if mom won't let me go outside. But that's just something that rubs her the wrong way. I guess it's a respect thing. And for Haman, it's you will bow. You will show respect, but Mordecai won't do it. And Haman is infuriated. He is not going to stand for this because it happens more than once. It happens regularly. And it's just burning inside Haman. He can't stand it. What we're talking about here is disobedience. Mordecai is being disobedient. So let's talk about that for just a minute. See, there's a lot of disobedience in this story. See, Mordecai disobeyed Xerxes and Haman because he wouldn't bow. But Esther and Mordecai were both disobedient when they remained in Susa. Cyrus said all the Jews can go back to their land. You can go back to Jerusalem, and yet their descendants, and they stayed in Susa. Which raises the question, why? Why would they want to stay in this sinful, pagan place? Well, there was disobedience. Esther was disobedient by hiding her identity. I mean, in fact, it's a kind of a lie. If you don't tell your soon-to-be husband who you really are, it's kind of a lie. There's disobedience in that. And if we back up a step, Mordecai and Esther were both disobedient when they participated in The Bachelor. They knew that you don't participate in The Bachelor. That was disobedient. Now, if you read through Esther, there's a line in there that you'll probably skip by, because I did. Thank goodness for commentaries and smarter pastors. Thank goodness for podcasts. There's a line in there that I totally skipped by, and we see that Mordecai, the Jewish man, Mordecai was a descendant of Kish. I'll tell you what, I just skipped right by those, because all the begats, is anyone getting frustrated by the begats in the Bible when we look at family trees and histories and we're like, I can't keep up with all this. But in this case, we ought to, because here's how this works. Kish is the father of the very first Jewish king, Saul. Kish is the father of Saul. I know that doesn't help you yet, so let me go a little bit further. You see, at one point, God told Saul to destroy all of the Amalekites. He said, you will destroy all the Amalekites, Saul. You will destroy every man, every woman, every child, and every animal. You will destroy everything that is of the Amalekites. And for some reason, Saul did not do it. Saul wouldn't do it. Another level of disobedience. That's going to play into our story. You see, we find in Exodus 17 that the Amalekites, the very people that Saul was supposed to destroy, the Amalekites had at one point attacked God's people. They had attacked God's people, and God said in Exodus 17, He said that He would utterly blot out the memory of the Amalekites. He's going to blot them out. They're going to be wiped out from the planet Earth. The Amalekites will be no more. And I know that sounds harsh. Remember, New Testament, warm and friendly. Old Testament, kind of hard. God said He would blot out the Amalekites from all of history. They would disappear from the earth. Haman, the guy in our story, he's a descendant of Agag. Agag, the Amalekite. I'll see if I can tie this up for you. Haman is a descendant of an Amalekite. Mordecai is a descendant of a Jew, specifically Kish and Saul. Saul was supposed to wipe out all of the Amalekites, but he didn't do it. Back to our story. Haman, the Amalekite descendant, is so enraged by Mordecai's insubordination that he offers Xerxes a bribe. He says, man, I'll give you a truckload. I know they didn't have trucks. I'll give you a truckload of silver. I will give you a cache of silver that is unparalleled if you, Xerxes, if you will just simply make a decree to wipe out the Jews. Just destroy all the Jews. Just wipe them out. And of course, Xerxes, being the greedy individual that he is, he approves and he makes the decree that all the Jews are to be destroyed. They're to be wiped out. Now, go back to the story for a minute. Shame on Saul. God said back in Exodus, Saul, you're to wipe out all the Amalekites. Saul did not do it, and now the Amalekites are going to wipe out the Jews. At least one of them, Haman. He's going to wipe out the Jews. The king goes along with it. The decree is made, and almost a year into the future, there's a specific date. It's March 7th. It's right before Passover. Interesting. Right before Passover, the Jews are to be destroyed throughout the empire of Persia. Now, Mordecai learns of Haman's plan to destroy all the Jews. He learns of the plan, and he sends word to Esther, and he says, hey, listen, Esther, this is what's going to happen. Haman's going to kill us all. He's going to kill you. He's going to kill me. He's going to kill all of us everywhere. You have to go to the king. Like, you're the queen. You got to go to the king, and you got to plead for our lives. You've got to do this. Now, for you and me, it seems easy. Any husband or any wife would say, of course I would go to my spouse. Of course I would do that. But we have to understand the culture. And so Esther responds, Mordecai, listen. You and I both know that if you appear unannounced before the king, he has the right and the power to kill you. And the king is not called for me. Now, if I just show up unannounced and he chooses, he can kill me right then and there. Okay? And Mordecai says, listen, Esther, you've got to do this. You have to do this. It's for our people. Now, I just want to get out of the Bible for a minute and get into what we might consider real life, which, by the way, the Bible is real life, but sometimes we separate those. I'll tell you what, if I'm Esther, I'm the queen. I have people serving me. I'm eating the good food, drinking the good wine. I'm living the good life, wearing the good clothes. And you're telling me about some people hundreds and hundreds of miles away who are in peril? Not my problem. Not my problem. I don't know about you. Maybe you're a better person than I am, but I can see that piece of me that would say, you know what, not my problem. And you know why I can say that? I can say that because I see people all over the planet who are suffering today, and I'm not doing enough about it. See, that's reality. I'm Esther. I'm living the good life here in the United States of America, here at Grace Fellowship Church, here as a part of my family. I'm living the good life. And there are people suffering all around me and throughout the world, and I'm not doing very much about it. It's not my problem. And so Esther is now faced with this moment where she has to decide. I mean, it's a moment of truth. What will I do? Will I care for my people, placing my own self in jeopardy, putting my own life on the line, or will I just simply live the good life, continue the secret, and let all the Jews be wiped out? Now you might say, well, does this really play into God's story? It does, because at one point in history there's going to be a Jew who will be born to a virgin and die on a cross. And if the Jews are wiped out, that Savior will not come. So you and I know that it's not going to happen, right? God said that Jesus would be a Jew and he's coming. So we know how it ends. Esther didn't. Esther didn't. And what's interesting about Esther's story is you go through that book, all 10 chapters, you will not find God's name mentioned. It's a very curious book in the Bible. God is not mentioned in the story. In fact, we don't even know if Esther herself believes in God, if she has a relationship with God. In fact, there's a lot of evidence to point out that neither she nor Mordecai really knows very much of God at all. There are little hints that maybe, perhaps they do. At some point they fast and they wear burlap and they weep and they wail. So there's that piece of it, but never do they pray. Never do they call upon God. And so that's curious. Why are these people who may not even have a relationship with God in this story? Well, we're going to come back to that too. We're going to come back to that too. So, Esther decides, okay, yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it. I will stand in the gap. I will stand in the gap for my people. I will go to the king. And so she asks Mordecai, have all the people fast for me. And so here we have that hint. Maybe she knows something of God. She says, I'll fast for 3 days. I'll have all my maids, they'll fast for 3 days. At the end of 3 days, she goes before the king unannounced. And can you imagine her fear? Well, maybe not, because you're probably thinking, well, she's his wife. She sees him all the time. No, the king had not called for her for 30 days. Wives, don't make any jokes here. The king had not called for her for 30 days. And yet here she is, and she stands before the king. Now, the practice was, if the king holds out his scepter, he grants permission. She can come in. If not, she'll die. And so here's this young girl, probably 15, 16 years old, who's lived a good life up until now, hiding a secret in her back pocket, and she stands before her king, and she awaits his decision. Fortunately for Esther, he holds out the scepter and invites her in. And he says, Esther, look, you're my wife, I love you, you know how special you are to me. What is it that you want? I'll do anything. I'll give you up to half the kingdom. I mean, what is it that I can do for you? And so here's the moment, right? She's granted permission. She's got her chance. All she has to do is say, please save my people. And she says, please throw a banquet. Please throw a banquet. I want three attendants at the banquet. I want you, King Xerxes. I want Haman. And of course, I'll be there. Xerxes says, hey, this is easy. And so, of course, he arranges the banquet. And so the three go to the banquet, and while they're at the banquet, they're eating and they're drinking, and after quite a bit of wine, the king says, Esther, come on now, come on, it's time. Tell me what it is that you want, babe. Come on, tell me. What is it that I can do for you? I want to grant your wish. I want to make you happy. What can I do for you? And again, she has the moment. She should finally say, save my people. Yet she doesn't. She says, will you throw another banquet tomorrow? Now, that's perplexing. It turns out, as a part of the culture, when you made a request for a favor, you were never supposed to appear anxious. So if Pastor Bob and I ask you to have dinner, we'll just have a nice time. But if we ask you to have a second dinner, get yourselves ready. Okay? And that's what's happening here with Esther. She's trying to not appear very anxious, or it could just be her humanity. Maybe she just chickened out. Maybe she just was like me and she just couldn't do it. She was like, let's have another banquet tomorrow. And so, of course, Xerxes agrees. They're going to have another banquet tomorrow. Mordecai leaves the banquet. On his way home Haman leaves the banquet. On his way home, he sees Mordecai. Mordecai won't bow. Haman is bubbling mad. Oh, he's mad. He goes home and he tells his wife and he tells his servants about this Mordecai who won't bow. And I've had it. I'm furious. That's enough. And of course, they say, you know what? Here's what you should do. Here's what you should do. You should prepare a giant pole in the front yard. I mean, a big old spike. 50, 75 feet tall, and we'll impale Mordecai on this spike. We'll impale him for all to see what happens to someone who does not bow before Haman. And Haman says, this is a good plan. It's a very good plan. It's a great plan. It's just going to impale Mordecai. Now, somewhere in this, I'm asking the question, what's God doing here? What's God doing between banquet 1 and banquet 2? I don't get it. Here's your answer. Xerxes can't sleep that night. After banquet number 1, he goes home, he can't sleep. And because he can't sleep, he says, hey, I want somebody to come in and I want you to read me the history of my reign, of all my achievements, all my accomplishments. And I know some of you are thinking, if I couldn't sleep, I'd ask for a transcript of this sermon. Stop that. Stop that. He wants, and I can understand that. Again, the human part of me understands, look, if I've got all these accomplishments, hey, you know what? Come and read me the story of my home runs and my touchdown passes, and tell me about my conference championships, and tell me of those things to put my mind at ease, to make me feel good. And that's what Xerxes asks for. Well, somewhere in the reading of the history, which, by the way, was a real historical book, somewhere in that reading, Xerxes hears about a time when there was an assassination plot against the king. And a man named Mordecai saved him. And he says, what did we do for that guy, Mordecai? And his servants say, well, we didn't do anything, king. We didn't do anything for him. And the king says, well, how can that be? How could we not have rewarded him in some way? He says, we need to reward him. So the king looks into the courtyard and he sees Haman. He says, hey, get Haman, get my right-hand man, bring him in there. And the king says, Haman, what should we do for somebody who the king wishes to honor? Somebody who has pleased the king and the king wishes to honor. Now Haman is thinking, who else? It's got to be me. I'm the right-hand man. I got the ring. And so he says, okay, king, here's what we should do. We should give this person royal robes. Let's give them a royal horse. Let's parade them through the town square, having somebody proclaim that this is what the king does for anyone who pleases him and he wishes to honor. So he's really making this grand plan. And Xerxes says, good plan. Now go and fetch Mordecai and do as you have said. Can you imagine? Can you imagine being Haman, the very person who you're planning to impale, who has got your blood boiling, is now going to receive this great honor that you prescribed? It's almost as if he's snatching it right away from you. This could be on TV, couldn't it? It could, this could totally be on TV. Okay. So, Mordecai gets the robe, he's on the horse, he's marching through the town, and by the way, the Bible doesn't say anything, he's got to be loving this. It doesn't say anything, but he's got to be on that horse like, oh, this is great. Haman, pull a little faster, Haman. Can you imagine? A little bit louder, they can't hear you. Can you imagine being Mordecai in this moment? Haman, the horse left a mess. This has got to be a great human moment. It's not just a Bible story. This is a great human moment. Oh, it's great. Okay. As soon as this is finished, Haman goes back home, and his wife, by the way, there's a lesson here too. His wife says, listen, Haman, you got to let this go. You got to let this go because everything you're wrapped up in here, it's going to get you in trouble. Mordecai, he's being celebrated. The king is pleased with it. Let this go. It's only going to lead to your own doom. But of course, Haman doesn't listen to his wife. There's our lesson. Haman doesn't listen to his wife, and Haman still wants to have Mordecai impaled. So, the servants come to fetch Haman. They bring him back. Banquet number 2. Xerxes, Haman, Esther are in the room. They're celebrating. It's banquet number 2. And finally, after drinks again, after some food, Xerxes says, Esther, look, what is it, hon? Come on. What can I do for you? I want to please you. I want to make you happy. Like, what can I do? Like all the husbands in Grace Fellowship do. What can I do, babe? All I want to do is just please you. And so here's the moment. Esther says, Xerxes, there is someone who wishes to kill me and all of my people. Now in that there's an acknowledgement that I'm a Jew. There's an acknowledgement there, all my people. There is someone in the kingdom who would kill me and all of my people. Xerxes blows a gasket. Who would do such a thing? Who dares? He asks. You ever been in one of those situations where somebody did wrong and you want to tell them, but they're right there? You want to tell, like you should tell, but they're right there. And so I don't know how forthright she was. It might have been like one of these. Somebody. No, it could have been one of those. I don't know. But one way or another, she makes it clear to Xerxes that it is Haman. It is Haman who would kill me, kill Mordecai, and kill our people. The king says, I can't deal with this. This is too much for me. I can't deal with it. And he goes out to get some air. And while he's in the garden getting some air, Haman knows I'm in trouble. And so Haman goes to where Esther is on a couch, and he throws himself on the floor and falls upon Esther. Esther, please, please forgive me. Have mercy. I'm begging you. Be merciful with me. Ask the king to save my life. Please, Esther. Well, at that moment, Xerxes walks back in. Having just been told that Haman wants to kill Esther and all of her people, and he sees this, and he says, would you even assault my wife before my very eyes? Are you crazy? What's wrong with this guy? Kill him now. And one of the servants goes, king, he had this pail made in the front. He made the pole in his front yard. He got a big old pole. He's going to put Mordecai on it. And the king says, you know what? Put Haman on the pole. They take Haman out and they put Haman on the pole. They execute Haman. Not only Haman, but his family as well. And I guess maybe that's a Father's Day or a Mother's Day lesson for us. Probably a Father's Day because it's Haman. That our sins affect not only us, but they sure do affect our kids too. Okay, but we'll wait till June for that. Come on back in June. The story's almost over. Almost over. So what we see here is that in Persia, when a king gives a decree, it can't just be overturned. He can't just take it away. There's no amendments to their constitution. And so even though the story sounds like it has a happy ending, the decree has already been made that the Jews are to be destroyed. And so Esther and Mordecai go to Xerxes and they say, what can we do? We can't let this happen. I mean, we have to stop this. And so the king, he says, everything that belonged to Haman is now yours, Esther. Esther says, okay, Mordecai, you're in charge of it. And that includes the signet ring. So Mordecai puts the signet ring on. And he and Esther together come up with a new law that says anybody who would do harm to a Jew on March 7th can be killed. And anything that they owned becomes the property of the Jews. Mordecai takes the ring and gives the seal, and this decree is set out through the land. And the Bible tells us, and it's either Esther 9 or Esther 10, that not only did folks not attack the Jews, many of them became Jews for fear of what might happen to them. And so what we see at the end of this story is that a decree had been made, but a new decree had to overturn the old decree. And I promise I am getting to the end here, so thank you for your patience. I am getting to the end. We look at 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verses 26 through 28. We see this in 1 Corinthians chapter 1. Remember, dear brothers and sisters, that few of you were wise in the world's eyes, or powerful or wealthy when God called you. Instead, God chose things that the world considers foolish in order to shame those who think they are wise. And he chose things that are powerless to shame those who are powerful. God chose things despised by the world, things counted as nothing at all, and used them to bring to nothing what the world considers important. And we might look at that and say, how does that apply to this story? Well, Esther was a nobody. Esther was an orphan girl, a Jewish orphan girl, living as an exile with her uncle. Mordecai was a lowly kingdom official. They weren't special, and it's not even like we can say, man, they loved God. Man, they prayed all the time. Because we don't have any evidence of that. We don't have any evidence of that. But what we see is that God chose to use ordinary people for his glory. He saved the Jewish people through Esther and Mordecai, who I don't even think knew God was doing it. It's not like Moses. They didn't even know God was at work. Which leads me to another scripture, Romans 8:28. And we know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purposes for them. And so here's what I'm telling you. God uses everything to work for your good. It doesn't always mean that he's using Christians or that he's using your brothers and sisters in the church, but he's using everything